Hello everyone. In the past, I did make a Fallout 4 build recording. However, that was done way back in the day. That was before the new difficulty and expansions. So I wanted to make a new recording to change some things that I said, add in new information, and hopefully along the way, correct past mistakes. I don't think that I did a good job on those recordings. So, um, with that said, let's just go ahead and get on with it. Um, in Fallout 4, Rifleman has always been the best way of going with weapons, in my opinion. Um, since the new expansions, they've certainly added a few, such as the splatter cannon, December's Child, the lever actions, and then finally radium rifles in here. So the reason I wanted to talk about this before perks is because um, this will kind of tie into that discussion. So I thought it was best that you were aware of what I'm speaking of before that happens. So I've looked at a bunch of different forums, wikis, and all that. And as far as I'm able to tell, Old Reliable is the new Overseer's Guardian. It does have its limits, though. It only has a fire rate of 5, but based on what I've been able to find, the raw damage is 829 from a sneak attack. To put that in perspective, a missile launcher with the heavy gunner and Demolition Expert perks can reach 651 damage. So that is quite the powerful rifle to be doing more than a missile launcher. So this actually changes the build a little bit because depending on how easy it is to get ammo for it, it may be best to use as a sniper rifle over Overseer's Guardian. Now, just because it does more damage than Overseer's Guardian does not mean we're getting rid of it um, at this time. And in the past, what I would do is use Overseer's Guardian um, for most of my sniping duties, and I left it with a scope. Then I would use one of the shotguns for close range combat. In particular, I used Justice. It was an easier shotgun to work with, and didn't really have a bunch of recoil. Let's use Terrible, even though it does more damage, it does have a gross amount of recoil, which I guess doesn't matter at close range, but seeing as Justice was my second weapon, I did need to be able to hit at a slight distance, just because the scope made it very hard for me to hit some targets depending on how close they were. But the way that that's going to change now is I'm thinking the best way to do this build is use Old Reliable now as the sniper rifle, and then we're going to change Overseer's Guardian to use a different scope and perhaps put a different stock and barrel on it. That way I can use Overseer's Guardian a lot easier for closer up targets. Um, I'm thinking that will probably be the best. The next weapon I want to bring up before we get into perks is the Pickman's thing. Let me just scroll down. Traps bladed. Here we go. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there is Pickman's Blade. This right here is a quest reward that has the mods built in, plus it has a damage over time legendary effect to it. The reason I'm bringing it up is because, as we're about to find out in perks, this is going to be a sneak build. One of the great things about Pickman's Blade is not only does it have the built-in um, mods, so you basically skip needing blacksmith. It also does a gross amount of damage as well. It only weighs 1 pound, so it's very easy to keep it with you at all times. Should your sneak be high enough to be able to at least get some targets with it. I mean, the way I see things is why not, right? Now, unfortunately, the mods on a combat knife don't have a set value attached to it as far as I've been able to tell. So my math is mostly guesswork due to that. The best that I'm able to tell is that Pickman's Blade, assuming you have Ninja Sneak and all that, does somewhere between 6 and 800 damage. Even if it falls shortly below 800 damage, it's still enough damage to take out most targets in one swing. If it doesn't, the combat knife does have a fast swing rate, so it is entirely possible to basically double sneak attack because of how fast it swings. So what I mean is you swing once, you get the sneak attack, you swing again before they turn around, and that still counts as another sneak attack up to a point before they um, actually detect you and start firing. Then that's when it comes off. Right. So with all that mentioned, let's go into perks. So as far as perks are concerned in the new difficulty, I'm still maintaining that science is useless. Science is how you would mod energy weapons and, of course, the power armor. Um, you could potentially use power armor in the difficulty prior to the new one, because fast travel was still enabled. But even then, it was just, I don't know, a big hassle, and I didn't really feel like dealing with it. Not only that, being able to sneak and snipe from a larger distance um, was a lot more effective, I thought. Of course, with the new difficulty, there's no fast travel, so it just increases the reason for me to say that science is useless. Because of no fast travel, that means you'd have to manually walk everywhere, burning through the power cells for the power armor along the way. I don't think that you could possibly carry enough to really do that. Another perk that I have mentioned that I'm starting to see is maybe a little less useless is toughness. Toughness is something that I would only do now if there were spare points left over. This is because it adds 50 damage resistance at its max. While that is a good number, the problem is that um, when you get combat armor and then the ballistic weave, you can hit easily 200 damage resistance and maybe more than that if toughness is on. But 200 is usually more than enough for most situations. Um, what would make it better for you on the new difficulty is if you spent those perk points elsewhere so that you can do more damage before the enemies get a hit on you. If you can kill somebody in one shot, uh, there's a chance that you will not take any damage. That's far more valuable due to the new factors such as not being able to save unless you sleep, lower heal rate, and all of that. Um, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and mention the sneak build. Um, that is something that I actually did change. Originally, I only used sneak at very long distances with the sniper rifle, so most enemies would not see me at that distance. There was no need for me to spend into the sneak perk itself. However, with the new difficulty, I'm starting to see that sneak is valuable due to the amount of HP it can save you. Now, as far as sneak is concerned, because it is part of this build, I would only spend up to the fourth perk if you really want to go out that far. In the very short run that I did, I was able to get away with um, two perks for most situations. It wasn't enough for Pickman's Blade, but it was enough for me to at least one-shot most things using Overseer's Guardian. But yeah, at four, I'm thinking you probably have an easier time using Pickman's Blade. On that note, I would like to bring up another mechanic with Ninja. This is something I started to notice when I was researching Pickman's Blade. They did say that there is a damage cap on both ends of this, and I don't know what the specific cap is. Unfortunately, there isn't enough information out there for me to determine that. Um, but apparently there is a cap of some sort. But Ninja's only three perks anyways, so I guess it's better just to spend all three perks to be on the safe side because even if it's, let's just say, um, 3 times or even 3.2 times, well, it's better to be a little overkill than a little under, just so you maximize your damage. If anybody has more information on that, please post that in the comments so I can add that to my notes, um, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get any of that on my own. Um, and as far as the other perks, I'm going to still maintain going Rifleman, Lone Wanderer, Demolition Expert, um, of course, Armor Smith, Gun Nut, and then a new one, Medic. Um, Originally, I didn't put too much emphasis on Medic, but now with the new difficulty, I'm seeing even more need to increase the amount of perks that are being spent there. Originally, I only was going to spend, I think it was like 2 or 3 in there, but now with this new difficulty, I see it as a need to just go as far as I can with it. Um, because at level 4, um, the stim packs and rad ray restore all lost health and radiation and work much more quickly. So it does kind of counterbalance the lowered healing rate of the new difficulty. Um, but yeah, outside of that, that's really all I would do. I mean, there's really everything else here is just going to be optional at that point. So um, yeah, that's the most I have. Thanks for listening.